Forced to marry a human she hated, but his first touch made her beg for more. The great hall of the Vraxian Empire shook with angry voices. Thousands of alien nobles filled the stone seats, their eyes glowing bright blue as they stared at the young princess standing alone in chains. Her name was Arela, daughter of the emperor, trained from birth to be strong, proud and unbreakable. But that morning, she looked like a warrior whose wings had been torn away. The guards pushed her forward, and the long metal chains rattled against the floor. Her wrists were bruised where the cuffs bit into her skin. Above her, the emperor sat on his high throne. Cold and distant, he did not look like a father. He looked like a judge about to deliver a death sentence. "Arela of the royal blood," the emperor announced, his voice echoing around the chamber. "You stand accused of disobedience, treason, and the greatest shame of all mercy toward a human." Gasps filled the hall. Some aliens whispered that she had lost her mind. Others whispered that she should be executed. Arela lifted her chin, trying to look fearless. But inside her heart pounded like a trapped animal. She had saved a human soldier, just once, just one simple act of kindness. She had shielded him from a burning ship crash because he looked scared and alone. She thought nobody saw her do it. She was wrong. The emperor stood up, his cloak flowing behind him like a storm. "For this crime," he said, his voice sharp as a blade, "you will face punishment worse than death." The hall went silent. Arela felt cold fear crawl up her spine, but nothing prepared her for the words that came next. "You will be forced to marry a human," the emperor declared. "Your life will be tied to the most inferior species in the galaxy." The room exploded with shock. Arela's legs almost gave out. She felt her stomach twist in shame and disbelief. "No," she whispered under her breath, but her father continued, ignoring her. "You will be sent to a remote human colony and bound to one of their males. Let this be a lesson to anyone who dares defy the Empire." Arela felt her world collapse. She would rather die than be tied to a human. Her people believed humans were weak, dirty creatures with short lives and no honor. Marrying one was the ultimate humiliation. The guards dragged her away as she struggled. Her voice echoed through the hall. "Father, please, there must be another way." But the emperor did not answer. He only turned his face away, refusing to meet her eyes. Arela was taken to a shuttle, still chained. As it lifted off the palace grounds, she stared at the shrinking towers of her home. She realized she might never return. Her punishment was exile, shame, and a lifetime with someone she believed she would hate. Hours later, the shuttle landed on a cold metal platform deep in human territory. Arela stepped out, trembling with rage and fear. Her long silver hair blew in the wind as she looked around, expecting filth and chaos, but instead, she saw a quiet settlement, simple but not broken. Humans walked around repairing equipment, talking, laughing, living. They looked normal, not monsters, not demons, just people. The guard beside her pointed to a small cabin. "Your husband is inside," he said coldly. Arela's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to run, to scream, to break the chains and fly away. But she forced herself forward. When she pushed the door open, she expected someone ugly or violent, but instead she saw a man sitting at a wooden table, a simple human with dark hair, tired eyes, and quiet strength in his shoulders. He looked up at her with surprise. Not hunger or cruelty. His name was Noah, a farmer and mechanic, chosen randomly by human officials who still feared Vraxian anger. Arela stared at him, confused. Why wasn't he shouting, claiming her, grabbing her like her people said human males did? Noah slowly stood, raising his hands to show peace. "You don't have to be afraid," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you. His voice was calm, warm, almost gentle. It shook her more than any threat could. Before she could answer, the ground rumbled violently. The alarms outside screamed, an attack. The cabin lights flickered as explosions shook the earth. Era lost her balance and stumbled forward. Noah caught her by instinct. His hand gripping her arm, their skin touched. Only for a second, but Erla froze, her heart hammering painfully. A strange heat spread through her chest, down her spine, into her hands. Her breath hitched, her vision blurred. Her body reacted like it recognized him, like her instincts awakened, like something ancient inside her had been touched for the first time. She pulled back sharply, staring at him with wide eyes. No. What was that? She whispered, trembling. Noah didn't understand. But Erla did, or at least she feared she did. This reaction. This spark? This was something that was only supposed to happen with a true mate. Not with a human. Not with him. The part ends with Erla touching her chest, shaking, as Noah steps closer and asks, "Are you hurt?" She whispers back, terrified, "No. But something is wrong. Very wrong." Dear audience, if you are enjoying the story so far, please support this channel by subscribing. Your support helps bring more HFY stories like this one. The ground continued to shake beneath their feet. Dust fell from the ceiling of the small cabin. Outside, the alarm screamed in a sharp, rising pattern, warning everyone of incoming danger. Erla stood frozen, staring at her own hands as if they did not belong to her. Her heart was beating too fast, too strong, too loud. That strange reaction from Noah's touch still burned in her chest, wrapping around her nerves like invisible fire. Noah stepped back slowly, giving her space. He raised his hands again to show he meant no harm. "Erla? It's okay. Let's get to shelter," he said in a calm voice, trying to keep her steady, but Erla's mind was spinning. Humans were not supposed to trigger any Vraxian bonding response. Their species were too different, too incompatible. So why did her body react as if Noah was chosen for her by ancient instinct? The walls shook again, forcing Erla to reality. She let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. "Fine," she muttered, trying to hide her trembling voice. "Lead the way." Human. Noah did not correct her tone. He didn't react to her attitude. He simply grabbed a heavy flashlight and opened the door. "Stay close," he said. "The colony shelters are on the east side," Erla followed. Though every step felt uncertain, the night sky above them glowed red with warning lights. Human soldiers ran across the open field, shouting orders. A cloud of smoke rose from the far end of the settlement. Erla smelled burning metal and acidic fumes in the air. "What is attacking you humans?" She asked sharply. She needed answers, something to focus on other than her racing heartbeat. Noah didn't slow down as he replied, "We're not sure yet. Could be raiders from your side, or pirates. Or maybe drones from the outer ring." Erla felt something twist inside her chest. She knew her people were brutal, sending assassins, raiders, and punishers was nothing new. But the thought that they might be attacking the human colony because of her made her feel strangely uneasy. "This is your fault," she whispered to herself. But Noah heard the tremor in her voice. "No," he said firmly. "If someone is attacking us, that's on them. Not on you." His calmness frustrated her more. Why was he not angry? Why was he not shouting at her? Why was he treating her like a person instead of a prisoner? They reached the heavy steel doors of the underground shelter. A guard saw them approaching and waved Noah inside. But when the guard saw Erla, his eyes widened in fear. "Sir, a Vraxian?" He stuttered, gripping his weapon. Erla's posture stiffened. Noah walked in front of her, shielding her with his own body. "She's with me," he said simply. Erla blinked in shock. Humans were supposed to be weak. Yet Noah stood between her and danger like a solid wall. She did not understand him, not even a little, inside the shelter. Dim lights flickered while people huddled together. Children cried softly. Adults whispered prayers. Erela stood out like a glowing silver flame among dull shadows. She felt every human eye on her, suspicious, frightened, confused. Her people had always said humans were afraid of anything different. But these humans, they were not scared of her. They were scared for themselves. It was a different kind of fear, one she had never seen before. Noah guided her to a bench, but she refused to sit. She kept her back straight, her chin high, trying to hide how shaken she really was. That reaction earlier, she whispered under her breath. She had never felt something so intense, so wrong, so impossible. She glanced at Noah, who leaned against a wall, watching the colony map on a screen. He looked tired, but calm, focused, strong in a quiet way that pulled her eyes back to him again and again. She hated that. She hated how her attention kept drifting toward him. She hated how his presence made her chest tighten and her pulse quicken. But most of all, she hated that she didn't know why. A loud crash interrupted her thoughts. The power flickered off for a moment, plunging the shelter into darkness. Children screamed, adults gasped. Erela reacted instantly. Her eyes glowed bright blue, adjusting to the dark. She moved toward Noah without thinking. Her instincts shoved her closer to him, her hand almost reaching for his arm. But she pulled back before touching him. She couldn't risk feeling that sensation again. In the faint emergency lights, Noah looked at her, a worried expression on his face. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Erela swallowed a lump in her throat. Why did his voice affect her so much? Why did it sound like safety? Erela felt the world tilt under her feet. Her father, the emperor of the Vraxian Empire, had sent assassins to kill a human, not because Noah was a threat, not because he had committed a crime, but because he had touched her, because he had been forced to marry her, because the Empire wanted him erased before she formed any forbidden bond. Erela stared at Noah. He looked calm on the outside, but his eyes told another story. They held fear, confusion, and something else, something she couldn't name. He folded the message pad quietly and set it aside. The room was silent except for the distant explosions shaking the ground above. Erela's throat felt tight. She wasn't supposed to care about him. She wasn't supposed to feel anything for him. He was human. He was beneath her. Yet her chest burned with something sharp and painful. Fear for him. She clenched her jaw, forcing her voice steady. He wants you dead because of me." Noah nodded once. "I figured," he said quietly. "Your people don't seem the forgiving type." Erela flinched. It wasn't wrong. It was just the truth said without anger. Noah wasn't blaming her. He was stating a fact. The shelter lights flickered again. People murmured nervously. A child whimpered in the corner. But Erela could only hear the pounding of her own heart. "Why would he kill you?" she asked. Her voice sounded small. "He wants the marriage completed," Noah replied. "Then he wants me removed." Erela understood instantly. The Vraxian right bond ceremony. The one where their nervous systems sensed briefly under ritual touch. After the ceremony, the human partner usually became a silent shadow. Unwanted, unimportant. Disposable. Erela swallowed hard. She felt sick. "He wants you gone, so I have no tie to your species," she whispered. "And so I learned the lesson," Noah added quietly. "The lesson he wants you to learn." Erela's hands curled into fists. Shame flooded through her veins, hot, burning, unbearable. She had lived her whole life under the Empire's rules, but now those rules felt twisted. Wrong, cruel, even to her. Before she could respond, the shelter doors opened again. 3 Vraxian honor guards marched inside, towering over the humans. Their armor glowed with blue symbols of authority. The humans stepped back in fear. Arila's blood ran cold. The lead guard bowed stiffly. "Princess Arila," he said, "by order of the Emperor, you are to perform the marriage bond ceremony immediately." He glanced at Noah with disgust. "And the human is to comply." Arila's wings tightened against her back. "No," she whispered. "Not here, not now." The guard's voice hardened. "This is the Emperor's will." Noah didn't move. He crossed his arms calmly and looked directly at the guards. "If she doesn't want to do it now, then she won't," he said. Arila blinked. He was defending her against Vraxian authority. The guards stiffened in shock. Humans never spoke like that to Vraxians. "You are a human," the guard hissed. "You have no right to refuse." But Noah didn't look afraid. "I'm not refusing the ceremony," he said. "I'm refusing the way you're trying to force her." Arila's chest tightened painfully. Nobody had ever protected her choice before. Not her teachers, not her advisors, not even her father. The Vraxian guard stepped toward Noah. "Stand aside," he ordered. But before he could grab Noah, Arila moved, instinct, fast as lightning. She stepped between them, wings flaring slightly. "Touch him," she warned, "and I will tear your arms off." The shelter fell silent. Every human froze. Every guard stared in disbelief. Arila hadn't just broken protocol, she had shattered it. Princesses did not threaten soldiers. Princesses did not defend humans. Princesses did not place themselves between a Vraxian blade and a human chest. The guard stepped back in fear of her. "Princess, your father will hear of this." Arila didn't blink. "Good," she said coldly. "Let him." The guard swallowed and lowered his head. "As you command," he whispered. The guards left the shelter in silence, their pride wounded. Arila turned sharply and began walking away. She needed to breathe. She needed to think. Her mind was a storm of fear, anger, and something dangerously close to desire. But Noah followed her. He stopped a few steps behind her, giving her space but still trying to understand. "Arila," he said softly. She didn't turn. "Why did you protect me?" Arila's wings trembled slightly. She didn't know how to answer. She didn't want to answer. She didn't even understand the full truth herself, but she felt the words rising anyway. Words she didn't want to admit. "You were respectful," she whispered. "You didn't touch me without permission." Noah blinked. "That's just basic decency," he said. Arila looked at him sharply. "In my world, humans are considered animals," she said quietly. "And yet, not one Vraxian has ever shown me the respect you did." Noah didn't know what to say. But he stepped closer, not touching her, not daring to, just close enough that she could hear his heartbeat. Steady and calm, her instinct flared again. Hot, burning, uncontrollable. She stepped back quickly, hiding her reaction. "We should get you somewhere safe," Noah said gently. Arila shook her head. "No," she whispered. "Nowhere is safe. Not while my father wants you dead." A loud boom echoed from above. Dust fell from the ceiling again. The shelter lights flickered. Soldiers shouted orders, but Noah didn't move. He stayed beside her, calm and steady. Arila stared at him, the human she was forced to marry. The human her father wanted dead. The human whose touch had ignited something ancient and forbidden inside her. Her voice came out low and trembling. "Noah." "Yes?" "If the ceremony happens." Her throat tightened. "If we complete the bond, they will kill you right after." Noah looked down, his expression softening. "Then we don't do it," he said simply. Arila shook her head slowly. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If we refuse, my father will come himself." Silence fell around them. Heavy, dark, dangerous, and for the first time, Erila realized something terrifying. Her father wasn't trying to punish Noah. He was trying to punish her. And Noah. Noah was just the easiest way to hurt her heart. But why did it hurt so much? Why did she care this deeply? Why did the thought of losing him twist like a knife inside her chest? Erila didn't have the answer. Not yet, but fate was already moving toward them. One step at a time, dark, unstoppable, and deadly. The ground above the shelter shook again, harder this time. Erila felt the vibrations run through her bones, somewhere in the colony. Something exploded with enough force to make the walls tremble. Humans crouched low, covering their children, whispering prayers under their breath, but Erila stood still, her glowing blue eyes fixed on the steel door, waiting, listening, sensing. Noah moved beside her, keeping a careful distance. He glanced at her face, trying to read her expression. But Erila's face was carved from stone, hard, controlled, cold, except for her trembling wings. She couldn't hide that. Her instincts were screaming at her. Danger was coming, not for the colony, not for the humans, but for Noah. Erila closed her eyes for a moment. She let her senses stretch outward. Vraxian warriors could feel energy signatures: heat, movement, killing intent. And she felt it now, sharp, fast, familiar. Vraxian assassins, right above them. She opened her eyes suddenly. "Noah," she whispered. "They're here." Noah stiffened. "You mean the attackers?" "No," she interrupted, her voice tense. "Not random pirates. Not raiders. These are Vraxian assassins." Noah inhaled slowly. His jaw tightened. He didn't panic. He didn't run. He simply reached for the emergency lights, scanning the shelter for a plan. Erila felt a strange warmth spread in her chest at his calm reaction. A human facing elite alien killers. And he didn't even flinch. The steel door slammed open. 2 human soldiers stumbled inside, breathless and shaking. "They're coming." One shouted. "They cut through the West Tower 3, are headed this way." Erila's wings snapped wide open. Her instincts surged like fire under her skin. Vraxians came to kill Noah. Vraxians came to punish her. But she was done being silent. She was done being obedient. She was done being the Emperor's daughter, who bowed and accepted orders. A loud crack came from the hallway, then a scream, then silence. Every human froze. Every voice disappeared. Even the children stopped crying. A cold fear crept into the room. A dangerous quiet before the storm. Erila stepped forward. Her eyes turned bright, almost glowing white-blue. Her breathing slowed. Her posture shifted into the stance of a trained warrior. Noah had never seen her like this. The first assassin stepped into the doorway. Tall, armored, deadly. His blade crackled with blue plasma. He saw Noah. His eyes narrowed. He didn't hesitate. He charged, straight toward the human. Noah didn't even have time to move, but Erila did. Her body moved faster than thought, faster than fear, faster than instinct. She leapt in front of Noah, wings flaring wide like a shield. Her forearm hit the assassin's blade aside with a sharp crack. Sparks flew, her skin burned from the heat. But she didn't stop. The assassin snarled. "Princess, step aside." Erila's voice came out as a cold whisper. "No." The assassin lunged again, this time aiming for Noah's heart. Erila caught the blade in her bare hand. Blood ran down her fingers, but she didn't let go. Her wings tightened, her muscles shook. She pushed the assassin back with a scream of rage. Noah grabbed her arm. "Erila, you're hurt." Erila jerked away from him, not in anger, but in fear of what his touch might trigger again. Her instincts were already burning uncontrollably. Another touch might break her. The second assassin rushed into the room. He aimed a plasma dart directly at Noah's chest. Erila reacted instantly, She shoved Noah to the ground. The dart flew past his head and hit the wall. Exploding into shards of light, humans screamed, fleeing to the corner. The shelter echoed with chaos, but Arela barely heard it. Her entire focus was Noah, his breath, his heartbeat, his life. Nothing else mattered. She roared a deep, primal sound Noah didn't think she could make, a sound of a Vraxian protector, a sound of a female defending what her instincts considered hers. The assassins hesitated, shocked. Only mated Vraxian females made that sound. And none of them could understand why the princess was doing it for a human. Arela didn't give them time to think. She attacked, fast, precise, lethal. Her movements were a blur trained from childhood to destroy enemies twice her size. She knocked the first assassin into the wall. The second stumbled back, but before she could strike again, they saw it, her bleeding hand, her shaking knees, the exhaustion from stress and fear. They regrouped. The leader spat on the ground. "You shamed the Empire," he hissed. "You protect a human. Your punishment will be severe." Arela stood tall. Wings spread. "I am not afraid," she said. But her voice trembled slightly. Only Noah noticed, only Noah understood. The assassins stepped back slowly. One pressed a device on his wrist. A hologram crackled to life. The Emperor appeared. Cold, furious, merciless, Arela's breath caught in her throat. Her father stared at her with burning eyes. "You defend him," he said slowly. "You protect him. You fight for him." Arela clenched her bloody fists. "I do," she whispered, for the first time in her life. She spoke a truth she had been afraid to admit. The Emperor's voice hardened like stone. "Then you are no daughter of mine." The hologram vanished. The assassins withdrew. The door slammed shut. Silence, heavy, crushing silence. Arela slumped against the wall, her bleeding hand shaking, her breath uneven, her wings drooping. Noah moved to her side slowly, carefully, gently. He didn't touch her, not without permission. He just knelt near her, close enough for her to feel his presence. Safe, familiar, warm. Arela didn't lift her eyes, but her voice came out barely audible. "He rejected me." Noah swallowed hard. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Arela finally looked up, her eyes wet, glowing softly, her voice cracking. "No, I'm sorry." She stared at him, the human she had protected with her life, the human whose touch awakened something ancient inside her. "Noah," she whispered, "I don't understand what is happening to me." And for the first time, she was truly afraid, not of death, not of her father, but of the way her heart pulled toward him. Arela leaned against the cold shelter wall, her breathing uneven, her hand still dripping blue-tinted Vraxian blood. The assassins were gone, but their presence lingered like poison in the air. Noah knelt beside her, not touching, not pushing, just staying near enough to support her if she fell. The humans in the shelter stared in stunned silence. None of them had ever seen a Vraxian princess fight like that. None had seen one protect a human. Arela wiped the blood from her fingers. Her eyes were glassy, glowing faintly, full of pain she didn't know how to hide. Her father's last words echoed inside her mind, cutting deeper than any blade. "You are no daughter of mine." She pressed her hand to her chest as if she could hold herself together. Noah swallowed. He didn't know what to say. Nothing felt enough, so he spoke softly, carefully. "Arela, come with me." Her eyes snapped to him. "To where?" she whispered. "Anywhere away from here," Noah said. "If assassins return, they'll kill everyone just to get to me." Arela looked around the shelter. Humans huddled in corners, still trembling, children crying softly, women trying to comfort them, and somewhere deep in her chest, a heavy guilt pulsed. If she stayed, more people would die. She nodded slowly. "All right," she whispered. "But we must move quickly." Noah helped her stand, still careful not to touch her without permission. Her wings trembled as she rose, her legs weak from the fight. But her eyes were sharp, determined. She would not let assassins harm him again. Not ever. They slipped out through a back corridor used for emergency exits. The sky outside was filled with smoke. Distant fires glowed orange against the dark night. The colony was under attack from several sides. Noah grabbed a small pack of supplies and pointed toward the forest behind the settlement. "We'll hide there," he said. "The trees are thick. The scanners won't catch us." Erla hesitated. "Humans run into forests," she muttered. "Vraxians chase inside them." Noah smirked slightly, despite the danger. "Then they'll regret it today." She blinked at him. Why did he speak with such calm confidence? Why did her chest warm when he looked at her? Why did her instinct pull her closer every time he took a step? They reached the tree line, and the shadows swallowed them. The forest was silent, except for the distant echoes of battle. Erla walked behind Noah at first, but every time he stepped over something dangerous, sharp roots, hidden pits, her wings twitched instinctively, as if ready to shield him. Why was her body doing this? Why did it treat him like someone she had sworn to protect? Why did it feel natural after almost an hour of walking? Noah stopped beside a fallen tree. "We rest here," he said. "You're hurt." Erla sat down reluctantly, her back against the trunk. Her wounded hand throbbed with pain, her body exhausted. But something inside her pulsed even stronger, almost like a heat spreading in waves. She stared at her hand, then at Noah. Then she finally spoke the truth she had been fighting since the moment he touched her. "Noah." He looked at her calmly, waiting. Erla swallowed hard. "When you touched me the first time, something activated." Noah frowned. "Activated?" She nodded, her voice trembling. "Yes. Something biological. Something ancient." Noah moved a little closer, not too close, just enough to hear her better. Erla wrapped her arms around herself, as if to protect her secrets. "In my species," she whispered, "there is something called the soul bond response." Noah's eyebrows rose. "Soul bond," he repeated softly. Erla nodded again. "It is extremely rare, and extremely dangerous." Her hands shook. "Only true mates trigger it," she whispered. "Not chosen by family. Not chosen by tribe. Chosen by instinct. Chosen by nature." Noah's breath caught. "And I triggered it?" Erla looked away, unable to meet his eyes. "Yes," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "When you touched me, my body reacted instantly." Her chest tightened painfully as she spoke. "It means my body believes you are my true mate." Noah froze completely. He wasn't breathing. He wasn't blinking. Erla rushed to continue. "It is not based on emotion or choice. It is biological. It cannot be faked. It cannot be controlled." She pressed her hands to her head. "It should not be possible. Not with a human. Our species are too different. Our genetics too far apart." But the reaction was real. Noah's voice finally returned, slow and steady. "What does a soul bond mean for you?" Erla sucked in a shaky breath. "It means my instincts pull toward you," she said. "It means I feel your presence. Your heartbeat, your fear, your safety. It means if something happens to you, my body will react, even if I don't want it to." Her wings trembled hard. "And it means," her voice cracked, "it means I will protect you, even against my own people." Noah's expression softened with understanding and sorrow. He sat beside her slowly, close enough for her warmth to reach him. "Erla," he whispered, "I didn't ask for this bond, but I won't run from you." Her eyes widened, glowing brighter. "You are not afraid." Noah shook his head. "Not of you. Arila's heart slammed inside her chest, painful, loud, undeniable. Her instincts roared stronger than ever. She clenched her fists, trying to control the fire inside her. Noah. She breathed his name like a confession. I don't know how to stop this. Before Noah could answer, a sharp metallic click echoed in the forest. Arila snapped her head up. Her eyes glowed bright blue in alarm. Noah, she whispered, they found us between the trees. 3 shadowy figures moved, silent, deadly, assassins. More than before, coming straight for Noah, their blades glowing with kill intent. Arila's heart ignited with pure instinct. This time she didn't hesitate. She stood in front of him, wings flaring wide, her voice low and deadly. If they want you, she whispered, they will have to kill me first, and she meant every word. The forest grew darker, thicker, heavier, as if every tree could sense death approaching. Arila stood in front of Noah with her wings spread wide, glowing faint blue in the shadows. Her instincts roared like fire inside her chest. Her pulse thundered in her ears. The soul bond pulled tight, hot, electric, impossible to ignore. 3 assassins stepped out from behind the trees, their armor reflecting pale moonlight, their blades humming with plasma. The leader pointed the tip of his weapon at Noah. By order of the Emperor, the human dies, he said coldly. Arila hissed, a sound sharp, animalistic, protective. She took a step forward. No, she snarled. You will not touch him. The assassins didn't flinch. They had trained their whole lives for combat. They had hunted rebels, soldiers, warlords. But they had never hunted someone protected by a soul-bonded Vraxian princess. They didn't understand the danger. Not yet. The leader laughed. Princess, your father commands it. Arila's eyes glowed brighter. My father, she said slowly, no longer commands anything of me. For the assassins, those words were blasphemy, traitors' words, punishable by death. They lunged forward at once, 3 deadly shadows slicing through the air. Arila moved even faster, her wings sweeping like blades, her body reacting with pure instinct. Protect the mate, protect the bond, protect him at all costs. The first assassin aimed for Noah's throat. Arila slammed into him with her shoulder, sending him crashing into a tree. The second swung at her head. She ducked, spun, and kicked his legs out from under him. The third assassin targeted Noah again. Noah backed away, stumbling over roots, but Arila pivoted and threw her injured arm in the way. The blade sliced across her forearm. Blue blood splattered across leaves, but she didn't stop. She didn't slow. The pain only fueled her instinct. Inks screaming louder, hotter, stronger. Noah shouted her name. Arila! His voice cracked with fear. Her heart clenched painfully. He was scared. Her bond flared like lightning. She roared, a sound so powerful that the forest itself seemed to shake. The assassins froze for a moment, afraid. Only bonded Vraxian females made that sound, and it meant one thing. She was fighting for her chosen mate. The leader regained his balance. This is madness, princess, he spat. You are royalty. He is dirt. Arila's wings extended to their full span. Her voice trembled with rage. He is mine. Noah's breath caught. The assassins hesitated, not in fear of her strength, but in shock at those words. Arila didn't notice Noah staring at her behind her wings, his chest rising and falling sharply, his eyes wide with something she couldn't name. The assassins regrouped, their blades glowing brighter. The leader signaled the kill. All 3 charged again. Arila blocked 2, but the third slipped behind her, leaping straight for Noah. Blade aimed at his heart. Noah stumbled back, breath frozen. The assassin moved too fast. Even Arila couldn't intercept in time. Her eyes widened in horror. Noah! The blade came down. Noah raised his arms. Arela screamed. And then everything stopped. A blinding white-blue light exploded from Arela's chest. It shot outward like a wave, striking all three assassins at once. Their bodies were thrown backward violently, slamming into trees with bone-breaking force. Silence. Cold. Shocking. Impossible. Arela collapsed to her knees, gasping for breath. Her skin glowed softly, a symbol forming over her heart, a swirling mark of pure white-blue light. Noah stared at the glowing emblem. Arela, what is that? She looked down, trembling, her voice shaky, broken, terrified. That was the full soul bond activation. The assassins groaned. Weakly, barely alive, fear and disbelief in their eyes, the leader whispered, "It cannot be. A human triggered it." Before they could rise, another presence entered the battlefield. The forest went silent. The wind stopped. The shadows deepened. A figure stepped through the trees, tall, dark, powerful, armor black as the void, crown glowing with imperial fire. Arela felt her blood run cold. Her breathing stopped. Her wings curled close to her spine. It was him, her father, the Emperor of the Vraxian Empire. Noah froze. The air turned heavy around them. The Emperor looked at the unconscious assassins, then at Arela, then at Noah. His voice was low, deadly calm. "So," he said, "it is true. The forbidden soul bond has awakened." Arela forced herself to stand, her body shaking but her eyes firm. "Father," she whispered, "stop this." The Emperor stepped forward, his gaze sharp enough to cut stone. "You bonded with a human. You disgraced our bloodline. You defied the Empire. And now—" He raised his hand, energy crackling around his palm. "I will correct your mistake." He aimed directly at Noah, a lethal blast forming in his hand. Arela screamed, "No!" She threw herself between them, but the Emperor's attack was already releasing, bright, deadly, final. Noah looked at Arela. She looked back, her eyes wide, glowing, terrified, and in that split second, they both understood. If the blast hit Noah, Arela would die with him. The soul bond would collapse, killing her from inside. The Emperor's attack streaked through the air like a comet. Arela spread her wings wide, ready to take the full hit, and then the world exploded in blinding white light. The blast of white light swallowed the forest. Trees bent backward as if pushed by a hurricane. Leaves ripped from branches. Shadows broke apart like smoke. Noah shielded his face with his arms, but Arela stood in front of him, wings spread wide, her body glowing bright blue, as if her soul itself was burning. The Emperor's attack slammed into her wings. The force was so strong that the ground cracked under her feet. Arela cried out in pain. The sound tore through Noah's heart. Her wings shook violently, feathers scattering like sparks. But she didn't fall. She didn't step aside. She didn't let the blast touch Noah because the soul bond refused to let her, because her instincts chose him, because she would rather die than let him be harmed. When the light faded, Arela collapsed to her knees, her wings smoldering, smoke rising from her back, her breathing weak, but she was alive. Noah dropped to the ground beside her. "Arela!" he cried, panic breaking through his voice. He didn't care about her glowing wings. He didn't care about the Emperor watching. He just held her shoulders, ignoring the burning heat spreading from her skin. Her eyes fluttered open, soft, glowing, painful. "Noah," she whispered. I'm here," he said, his voice shaking. "Don't move, please, don't move." The Emperor stepped forward slowly, his face twisted with anger and shock. "You survived my attack," he said, his voice low, dangerous. Erila forced herself upright, barely breathing, barely standing, but she faced him anyway. "The soul bond protected me," she said weakly. "You cannot break it, Father." The Emperor's eyes burned hotter. "You would choose him," he growled, "a human, a creature beneath our feet. You would throw away your throne, your power, your future." Erila cut him off, her voice trembling but firm. "I would throw away everything before I throw away him." Noah, H. froze, his breath caught in his throat. He stared at Erila with disbelief and something deeper, something soft, something terrified, something like love. The Emperor lifted his hand again. "I should end this now," he said. "Kill the human, and the bond dies with him." Erila stepped in front of Noah without hesitation, even though she was barely standing, even though her legs trembled, even though pain shot through every part of her body. "Then you kill me too," she whispered, "and you lose your daughter forever." The Emperor hesitated, only for a moment, but Erila saw it. The small crack in his armor, the flicker of emotion he tried to hide. "You shame the Empire," he said finally. "But I will not lose you." Erila held his gaze, then spoke the words she had known she must say. "I am not your heir anymore," she whispered. "I renounce my place." The Emperor's face hardened like stone. "You would give up your crown for him?" Erila glanced at Noah, her eyes softening. "Yes," she breathed. Noah looked overwhelmed, his voice soft. "You don't have to do this." Erila turned to him, her glowing eyes full of pain and peace. "Noah," she whispered, "I already chose." The Emperor's jaw tightened, his cloak shifted in the cold air. He turned away slowly. "If you walk away from the Empire," he said, "you walk away forever." Erila lifted her chin. "I know." The Emperor paused, then spoke without looking back. "If you follow this path, you follow it alone." Erila's wings folded close to her body, her heart squeezed painfully, but she didn't break, she didn't cry, she didn't plead. "Goodbye, Father," she whispered. He walked into the shadows of the forest and disappeared. Silence filled the space he left behind, deep, heavy. Erila stood still until her legs finally gave out. Noah caught her before she hit the ground. He pulled her gently into his arms, her head resting against his chest. "Erila," he whispered, "you didn't need to give up everything." Her voice trembled as she answered, "I didn't give up everything." She lifted her eyes slowly, looking at him, soft, glowing, vulnerable. "I kept what mattered," she whispered, "you." Noah's heart hammered in his chest. He cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing her cheek. Erila shivered, her breathing hitched, her wings fluttered softly. She leaned into his touch, her voice barely audible. "Noah, your first touch changed me." She placed her hand over his, her fingers trembling. "And now, I want more." Noah pulled her closer, carefully, respectfully, as if she might break. "I'm not going anywhere," he said softly. "You're safe with me." Erila closed her eyes, her forehead touching his. For the first time, she let the bond guide her. Far behind them, the forest grew quiet again, the danger fading, the Empire's shadow retreating. Erila had lost her crown, her status, her home, But as Noah wrapped his arms around her, holding her gently, she realized she had gained something greater, something powerful, something sacred, a place where she belonged, a person who chose her, a bond that could not be broken. Erila whispered softly, "Noah, take me home." And for the first time, home was not a palace, not an empire, not a throne. Home was wherever he stood, wherever he held her, a human and a Vraxian princess, bound by fate, bound by instinct, bound by a single touch that changed everything. Together, they walked back through the forest, toward a future no one in the galaxy could ever imagine, the end.